inside the stories that affect you. This is Inside KELOLAND.
Good evening, and thanks for joining us for this week's Inside KELOLAND. I'm Don Jorgensen. 2019 is just about over, but before we end the year, we're looking back at two specific events that will have a lasting impact on downtown Sioux Falls. Last spring, construction wrapped up of the Levitt at the Falls as it kicked off its first season. Even with a shorter first-year lineup, the Levitt saw a lot of success. Tonight, we look at how organizers plan to keep that momentum going. Another big event changed the skyline of downtown. The Arc of Dreams has quickly become a must-see landmark. Coming up, we'll hear from the director of the Sculpture Walk about the Arc's impact. And 2020 is slated to be another big year for downtown. After nearly 30 years of work to revamp the State Theater, the historic venue is scheduled to open. We're going to hear from the executive director and the new general manager coming up. But first, let's start with the Levitt at the Falls. Executive Director Nancy Halverson joins us now. Nancy, thanks for being here on Inside KELOLAND.
Thank you.
Talk about the first year of Levitt at the Falls. Did it meet the expectations?
It exceeded expectations. You know, when we were first doing our preliminary numbers, we were hoping for maybe 20,000 people on the lawn. We got close to 60,000 visitors on that lawn.
Wow, that is incredible. Yeah. So how will Levitt keep that momentum going now into next year?
You know, just more of the same, really. We're in the process now of choosing bands for next year and really looking for bands that reflect who we are as a community, finding things that people will respond to, creating an environment that's warm and welcoming, just a great destination downtown.
And for people who may not be familiar with Levitt at the Falls and what it's all about, just kind of briefly explain that.
Yeah, so Levitt at the Falls is actually part of a bigger foundation that is a national foundation of Levitt organizations. We are the 8th in the country, and it's actually a family foundation that was formed to build community through music. So in each community Levitt goes to, they find an area of the community where they can find a piece of property that if they invest in it, it will have great economic impact for the community. So it is about the music, but it's also about economic impact and just bringing us together.
Well, since you bring that up, is there any way to gauge the economic impact that it's having, especially for the downtown area?
There really has been. We did a lot of data collecting throughout the summer, and what we saw was that a lot of the shops were seeing about 2/3 increase in their sales during the concerts. People were going to restaurants. People were going to see the different shops and things around. So it is bringing people to downtown, and I think that, you know, we're going to see even more of that as we build next summer to 50 concerts.
And I've also noticed that that area is really starting to develop because they want to be closer to Levitt at the Falls.
The beautiful condos being built by Lloyd, everything happening at Sioux Steel. You know, that whole part of our city is coming to life in a beautiful way.
All right, give us a little sneak peek into next year. Can you tell us anything about next year?
I can tell you there'll be 50 concerts.
50 concerts?
50 concerts, and we'll start right, you know, in between the holidays, Labor Day and Memorial Day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night.
Fair to say we'll probably see some of the same bands or not?
Actually, very few of the same. We have a couple that we're working with. We had one that got rained out last year. You might remember we had a big storm just as they started, Farewell Angelina, so they will be coming back.
Oh, that's good news then. So do you foresee any changes of the layout, or did you learn anything that maybe you'll do differently this coming year?
Sure, we learned a lot. One of the things that we're working on now with the Parks District is to actually create an area where we can move our beverage vendors to the top of the lawn, which will allow us to have more room for food trucks. Again, that was something that was so popular with folks, and we just want to give them more capacity for that in the future. And I think that you'll just see more. You know, we really learned that people love the community engagement when we can bring out the big blue Sanford blocks on the lawn, when we can have yoga out there, when we can have Therapy Dogs International. Those opportunities to bring local nonprofits and sort of lift them up as part of what we do was hugely well received. So we'll do more of that.
Talk about the genre of bands or the different types of music people can expect.
Sure. So we really do try to shake it up quite a bit. So this year we'll have our women in song genre again. We'll do Americana music. We'll have world music. We actually have one of my favorite groups coming from France, and we have another group coming from Australia. So that'll be exciting. We'll have country music. jazz and blues. We'll have quite a bit of everything. With 50, there's a lot of space.
Now, I would imagine some people probably think that it's winter time, so you've taken the entire winter
Yeah, we're
off.
just, laying back. No, this is our busy time. I'm actually traveling around the country, going and hearing bands and negotiating with all the just different artists and managers and things, and raising the funds. 80% of what we do.
I was going to say, what makes this possible?
Yeah, it's gifts. It's the generosity of our community, which is amazing. Most nonprofits have 50% earned, 50% contributed. We're actually 80% contributed. So we're always looking for people who are interested in music, interested in our mission to step forward and support us.
And tell our viewers, last question, tell our viewers when they can expect to see the concerts again.
Sure. So we will start in June, and we'll announce the concert list in April.
Okay. Well, Nancy, thanks for being on Inside
thank you.
KELOLAND. Appreciate it, and good luck in 2020.
Thank you.
All right. Well, this past year, a large permanent sculpture joined the artwork in downtown Sioux Falls. Up next, we take a look at the lasting impact of the Arc of Dreams. Welcome back. In 2019, a massive stainless steel sculpture went up in downtown Sioux Falls, spanning across the Big Sioux River between 6th and 8th Streets. And joining me now is Jim Clark, the director of the Arc of Dreams and the Sculpture Walk. Jim, thanks for being here. Talk a little bit about the Arc of Dreams and the impact it's already had in its first year.
Well, Don, thanks for having me. Yeah, the Arc of Dreams was installed June and July. And we were so excited to see it go up because we had, over 6 years, we'd been raising money for it and hadn't seen it. Even the artist Dale Lamphere hadn't seen it standing until that first time. So we were really excited about it because we had a high stress level. The impact so far, we're hearing all positive comments about it, no negative comments. We tried to make sure everything was exactly right on the sculpture, and we're working with Dale Lamphere. It's just such a pleasure, and we're just honored to have him as our sculptor. I think he was the only one that could do it.
Whose idea was this? And at the time, I mean, did it seem a little out there, a little overwhelming?
Well, we started Sculpture Walk in 2004, 10th anniversary. Paul Schiller says, "Clark, what are you going to do for your 10th anniversary?" So we go. So this is back in about 2013 or so, and he says, well, we were talking about a sculpture across the river, and so I give him credit for the idea. And we had actually started with a whimsical sculpture, like a tightrope walker, just something simple and fun. But and then we started thinking about it really needs to represent the character, the personality of the community. And when we brought in Dale Lamphere, he kind of changed it, actually improved it dramatically for us with the design and the name. And it all came together. We had the right people at the table. And so Schiller came up with the idea, crazy idea. The Sculpture Walk is owned by Sculpture Walk, and all private funding, private land. We have 700 donors, over 700 now. It keeps growing, and people can still buy plaques on the wall. Everything is done in stainless steel, so it will stand the test of time. Nothing will rust. It will be there for decades, hopefully centuries.
When I look at it, to me, it looks like it's an engineering masterpiece, because there had to be a lot of thought process of how it stays anchored to the ground.
Yes. Dale Lamphere said, "Jim, if you wouldn't have had the gap in the middle, it would have saved you $2 million, and they could have got it done in about a year." But it came up with the idea in the middle of the night. We need a gap in the middle of it. I didn't know that was going to cost us a lot. But just because the sculpture, the mission of the piece is to pay tribute to the dreamers of the past and present, and inspire dreamers in the future. And we're working on both aspects of that, and we'll roll out the tribute in the spring. And we're also working with Eugene Field school kids on the inspiration part of it, and that will grow to other schools. So it's more than just a beautiful, majestic sculpture. It's an engineering marvel, just as you mentioned. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable. There's nothing like it in the world. And Dale is the only one, I think, that could ever do it, and he'll never do it again. No blueprints for it, just came out of his head, and he figured it out, and he's in his early 70s, and he worked so hard on it physically and mentally. We all worked hard on it mentally because I worked with the contractors here in Sioux Falls. They too had never done anything like this, so it was a challenge to them. But it all came together, and it's almost like surreal now that it's standing.
And when you look at it, and the lights was a nice added touch to it, but when you look at it, especially at night, it's such a focal point of our city now. I think people, when they see it, they identify it with Sioux Falls. Was that kind of the intent?
Well, I think we knew that was going to happen just because of the magnitude of it. It's 285 feet long. You know, that's almost a football field long. And then with that gap in the middle of it, it just represents the leap of faith that dreamers have to take to achieve their dreams. And when I'm down there, I see wedding groups taking pictures. I know people are getting engaged down there, family pictures, anniversary pictures. I mean, it's just, musicians are down there playing. It's a gathering place. And now that the Uptown is growing even more, it's going to be in the center of all that new growth up there. And it's, you know, it's in downtown, but that part of downtown is really going to just explode in growth.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this next question, and it'll be my final question. Can we do another one somewhere in the city, similar or like it?
You know, it's a good question. I think what we'll do next is something new and different and unique.
Maybe not
as big as that.
On a smaller scale, perhaps.
Right, right. Not as big as that, but I think it will be very important to the city when we do it. But the Arc of Dreams now is just, it is so special. And the lighting, we didn't know how that was going to turn out until we flipped the switch. So that too is a gamble, leap of faith. Everything we did on this project was a leap of faith, but we had great contractors, we had great people on the team, and we had great partners and all the donors that helped make it happen.
It is a beautiful addition to our city. Jim, thanks for being on Inside KELOLAND. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Don.
Well, from a giant sculpture to an outdoor music venue, coming up next, we talk to Downtown Sioux Falls, Inc. about how the two locations are bringing in more foot traffic. Welcome back. As we look back at 2019, the addition of the Levitt and the Arc of Dreams has had a big impact on downtown Sioux Falls. Joining me now is the president of Downtown Sioux Falls, Joe Batchelor. Thanks for being on Inside KELOLAND. Talk about these two masterpieces that we have, the Arc of Dreams and the Levitt at the Falls. What has it meant to downtown?
You know, I think we're going to look back on 2019 as an inflection point for downtown. These two additions are transformative, really, for the downtown and for Sioux Falls. I don't think people realize just how important the arts are. The Arc of Dreams, we're going to see people coming in off of the interstate. We've seen so many people just gravitating towards that sculpture. It's so impressive, you know, spanning the Sioux River. So there's really not much other types of sculptures like that in the country. And so for Sioux Falls to have something like that is just really unbelievable. I love that we have dreamers in this town that are willing to put their necks out there and try to pull things off like that. Levitt is another great example. That was a dream of a few people. You know, Mr. Tom Dempster brought this idea, formed a board, years of planning and fundraising, and now we have a Levitt. We're the smallest market that has a Levitt, and you know, from what I understand, we've been exceeding expectations with what that has done compared to other Levitts across the country. It's a great community building asset for Sioux Falls. And those things, they put a bullseye on downtown like never before. And I think we're just going to see the growth of downtown take off exponentially.
I was going to say, because I love downtown Sioux Falls, always loved it. But these two additions have really made it a focal point for a destination, if you will, correct?
Absolutely. You know, we've got so much more to offer these days, and you know, it's a destination. It's even a destination for people that already live here. People are taking staycations in downtown because it's just such a fun place to be, and you know, people want to be down here and not have a care in the world and do, you know, anything and everything that downtown has to offer. But I don't think we've even really begun to realize how much of a destination these two landmarks have helped create.
And now we're going to throw in the State Theater. It's going to be opening up next summer.
Yeah. Again, 2019 transformative year with T. Denny Sanford's Gift. That we will see really the impact of that gift in 2020. And people are excited. People have been waiting for that for a long time. I think it's been close to 30 years, 28 years or so that it's been closed. And to have it open again, operational, restored to all of its original opulence and grandeur is just going to be something for people to experience.
What do you hear from across the country about our downtown Sioux Falls?
I went to an International Downtown Association conference at the end of October, and a lot of my peers are saying, you've got a lot of good things going on in downtown Sioux Falls. I keep seeing things in the news about it, and so people are in other downtowns are. They're taking notice.
Yes, I was going to say they're taking notice, aren't they?
Absolutely.
That's a good thing, right?
Yeah. We're very fortunate. I don't think we realize how lucky we are to have to live in such an exceptional city, and a lot of it really starts here in downtown.
Well, Joe, unfortunately, we're already out of time. I could sit and visit with you for another 30 minutes, but I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on Inside KELOLAND.
My pleasure. Thanks, Don.
Well, decades of work is expected to come to life next year. Coming up next, we talked about it. We're going to hear from the executive director and the new general manager of the Sioux Falls State Theater. Welcome back. After nearly 30 years of work, the historic State Theater in downtown Sioux Falls is set to reopen next year. In June, T. Denny Sanford and the city of Sioux Falls announced major contributions to the project. $3.5 million came from Sanford, with $1.5 million from the city's entertainment tax fund.
Having a venue where people are going to be able to come downtown every single night and be an economic development draw, and they're going to eat and they're going to shop and they're going to have a drink is going to be absolutely an incredible economic boon for downtown.
And a lot of people are getting excited to see the years of hard work pay off. Joining us now on Inside KELOLAND, the executive director of the State Theater, Allison Weiland, and also the new general manager, Stephen Dahlmeyer. Thank you both for being here. Okay. How does it feel to be this close? So good. I don't even know if words can describe it. It's going to be opening next year. Yeah, we're saying mid-2020 for our opening. Every day we see more progress. Something is new, different inside of the auditorium, whether it's the plaster work or the cement. I mean, it's a production in itself, the construction that's happening in that building right now. I recently toured it with you, and what a beautiful, it's a work of art. Yes. Rather than a construction project. There are so many tiny details. Yeah, and we notice something every day. I mean, as the theater's starting to come alive, when you start putting the correct paint color on it and repairing the plaster, you really see it as a whole, which not a lot of people have seen before, as how it looked in 1926. Right, that's the goal, to return it to its splendor, right? And Stephen, you just got hired as new general manager. Talk about your role and what you're going to be doing there.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that I'm working on is prepping for day one, for opening day. So what do we all need when we open those doors to the public? So staffing, concessions options, programming, all of that stuff, trying to make sure that all of our guests have a good experience once they walk in the doors. And once you open the doors, how often are we going to be seeing movies there? Every day. Every day, every night. There'll be films. Yep. And then weekends we'll have additional films, matinees and things like that. And we'll work on some special showings too. What do you think it's going to mean to downtown Sioux Falls? Both of you, I'll ask you both the question. I think it's going to be wonderful. I think the foot traffic for the businesses downtown, the bars, the restaurants, the shops, I mean, we're going to be bringing in, the possibility of 150 people extra per day. That's our capacity. And I just think it's going to be exciting to watch downtown develop so much, and I think the businesses are in for a real treat. Stephen? Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, and I think it's a good diverse mix of entertainment options that'll be downtown now, and along with the work that the Levitt's done, and DTSF and stuff we're doing now, you know, and trying to partner with some of the businesses too in the area to try to make sure that we all are lifted together and make downtown more vibrant than it already is.
Yeah, one more piece of entertainment for downtown. I know it's not complete yet. It's still got a ways to go. Can you just talk about some of the things that need to be done yet?
Yeah, so right now the goal is for mid-2020 is the main floor of the auditorium will be open for cinema. We still need to raise the funds for the second floor and the balcony in the third floor. We'd love to open a micro cinema, which is a smaller cinema, about 20 to 40 seats. And so we'll still be fundraising for that, but we will be open and operational by mid-2020.
The micro cinema, that would be so people maybe could rent it out for private parties and things
exactly.
like that?
Exactly, and it also gives us, opens a door for additional programming as well.
Yeah. If you can look into 2020, what do you see when people come up to the ticket box office there?
It's really exciting to watch people go through the doors of the State Theater. I mean, everyone kind of looks in a different direction. They're kind of transported to a different point in time. So we'll be using the original box office, which I think is going to be really cool. And I think it's going to give people just experience walking through the doors.
I remember when I was younger, two of the movies that I saw there, King Kong with Jessica Lange and Jeff Bridges. That was one of the first ones. And then I also saw Rocky II there. And I'll never forget it because everybody was so engaged into the movie itself. The entire theater, the auditorium, they were standing up yelling, Rocky, Rocky. So there's going to be lots of memories. And I think when people revisit the State Theater when it opens, they're going to have that nostalgic feeling again of what it was like when they were a kid. I think that's the hope, I would imagine, right?
Yes, definitely.
And Stephen, as a general manager, how many people are you looking to hire? Have you figured that out yet?
We're working on that. We'll rely, as a nonprofit, we'll rely a lot on volunteers to help for ushering and some of our concessions work. But it could be up to 6 part-time to help with box office, concessions, and filling in some other gaps. And then we'll look at possibly another full-time position too.
Do you know when you'll start doing that hiring process?
It'll be late spring, early summer, you know, once we get closer to knowing our open date.
Yeah.
And then we'll work to fine-tune that.
Well, I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about it as we get closer to that time frame, May, June, perhaps. All right. Well, thank you both for being on Inside KELOLAND. Good luck with the rest of the project, the State Theater. It's a beautiful place. Love it. Can't wait to go see a movie there.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And you can find out more about today's topics online at KELOLAND.com. Just click on the Inside KELOLAND section. Be sure to join us every Sunday following the 10 o'clock news right here on KELO TV. That's all the time we have for today. Be sure to join us again next week for more on what's going on inside KELOLAND. I'm Don Jorgensen. Thanks for watching.